And we're live. Do. You can hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
All right. Sorry. You just went silent for a minute when I said we're live. I'm like, oh. All right. Let's get this party started. Hollywood's worst nightmare just materialized as a hyper realistic, unauthorized video of Tom Cruise and Brad Pitt went viral without either actor stepping on set. ByteDance just unleashed CDance 2.0, an AI video generator so powerful and legally reckless that it has an entire entertainment industry sounding the alarm. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah, I absolutely love it. Well, it's scary. So let's just start out by what this is first. So um, it's um, it's an AI video generator that combines image to video and text to video capabilities. So you can produce short videos by simply entering NLPs, like natural language prompts. Um, so it can generate animated sequences with sound, camera motion, and narrative coherence, which is all driven by this large multimodal AI model that's trained on vast amounts of audiovisual data. This is scary. Now, obviously, looking at the video, you can tell that it is not real right from the get go. But this is the closest, in my opinion, that we've gotten to something like this with real people, where it is an action scene and that. So, I, yeah, this is scary. Do you like? What are your thoughts on the video that's been generated here? Do you think it's closer to realistic, or do you still think there's a long ways to go?
I think I think we're getting there, and I mean it's again they shared the prompt. It wasn't a very big prompt for this. Some other people have gone in and done more prompts with sound and audio and people talking and different people fighting and stuff, and it's just getting better. Um, it it's getting there, and I think people can complain and whatnot, and we'll get into that. Like CDance 2.0 is highly advanced text to video generator, as you can see from the parent company of TikTok that produces cinematic clips with realistic camera movements and lip syncing. So all of that combined together, we've come a long way from the Will Smith eating spaghetti. It recently went viral for generating photorealistic deepfakes of AI celebrities, triggering a fierce backlash from major unions like SAG-AFTRA and the MPA over mass copywriting infringement. So does this accelerate the death of traditional content licensing and forces an immediate existential legal showdown over who owns human beings' digital likeness? I think what we're seeing, we're going to see that. As we talked about it, they went after them. At first, they said, we don't care. Then they kind of said, okay, we care. We're going to back off. We're going to put some more rules in place. But when you look at this stuff, we're starting to see that it will eventually take over Hollywood. It's taken over YouTube. It's just a matter of time. But the question becomes is what parts? Like Hollywood, they're fighting it right now, but they should be using it. When I say should be using it, and a lot of them are, they're just not telling you, they should be using it for special effects. They use it for creating mock-ups right at the beginning before anybody does anything. You can get AI to create like some panels and stuff to get the idea. And then once they agree to the thing, then someone will actually do it. Not related to what images were created kind of thing. There's a lot of things they could do. Like CGI and special effects, why aren't we using AI for those things, right? As a result, like they're
Yeah.
digitally generated anyway. It becomes a question of who owns the rights of a voice, who owns the right of a speech, of a face. If I look like Tom Cruise, can I now make videos of someone who looks like me doing these things, or am I going to be? It brings in all sorts of issues, and we've seen some people sign off their rights to say, okay, I think it was Darth Vader. I can't remember the actor's name who signed off his voice for Disney to use it.
Oh, was it James Earl Jones? No.
Yes, I
Really?
believe it was. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I think
So
you're right. Yeah, I remember that now. Yeah.
so it's happening, and the last strike had a lot to do with AI, but they're just letting AI in. So curious to see what this is going to mean for Hollywood and video games. Like, I haven't had a chance personally to access things like Google Genie. Have you? Which is that virtual world. At first, when someone looked at it, I'm like, what's the big deal? And then once you start thinking about it, you can do almost anything with it. So if you can generate a virtual world with a prompt that you can explore and do whatever you want in just by adding prompts, what do you need video games for?
Yeah, true. Well, here's the thing. Here's the impact here. So what this release CDENS 2.0 is likely going to do is it's going to accelerate policy debates on AI and copyright. We're already seeing calls for clear legislation and international standards. So what happens next? It actually, like, this is a critical, for me, that in my opinion, this is a critical point. This could shape the future of generative AI, balancing creative freedom, technological process, and legal protection. So, like, I understand why there's not much that's being done right now quickly, because I think they want to do it right, which is great. But the problem is that what happens when CDENS 3.0 comes out, and they still haven't caught up with policies and stuff. So, like, there's that, and we've talked about this before, is how fast technology is accelerating compared to policy writing, right?
And are the policies going to be global? So what's acceptable in China is going to be acceptable in the US or the UK or Europe, or so we're going to have to see. But also with you, I've always thought in the past 10 years, and maybe they're doing it, they're not really taking advantage of green screens in movies and TV properly. And when I say that, I mean they should be using green screens for anything someone drinks. If you pick up a can of pop, that should be a green screen can of pop. If there's a picture in the background, that should be a green screen picture. If there's a postcard on the fridge, because now you can sell advertising in perpetuity on shows that are running on Netflix and other things, and change it by season. So that sticker on Seinfeld thing might be Disney World 1 year, and it might be their competition the next, for example, as a money making thing. But where you can start implementing these tools in a different kind of way. But you're right that the problem becomes is who owns the rights, and this has been an ongoing thing we've talked about in the past, where companies are suing. You can make Disney like images, you can make this like images, you can make other like for images. Now this is happening at the video level, so some precedents have to be set. And we're going to have to see, how it happens. Like, the media industry historically was powerful enough that they put a surcharge on every CD. There was a tax, blank CD or DVD was added to it, so that because they assumed a certain amount of people were just going to copy illegal stuff on it and they wanted their payment. Are we going to see images and video generation start carrying that kind of tax, or is something else going to happen? What are you thinking?
Well, here's the thing, though. Why does it, like, how are they going to tax it? Because this is a global thing. Before, with CDs and stuff, it was controlled by a few people. And it was controlled by the people who were releasing the music. Now it's out of everyone's control. It's out of the people who own the copyright. It's out of their control. So how are they going to tax it? How do they do that? Unless, okay, sure, the government could step in.
Well, this is the same thing. The manufacturers of DVDs and CDs, blank ones, had nothing to do with the music industry, but yet they came in and said, yeah, sorry.
Okay, well, maybe. And who knows? I think what we need, I have no clue what this looks like, but we need to completely revisit, potentially, or redefine what copyright means. We need to go back to the fundamentals. And figure out how copyright is defined in this new age.
Definitely, and we can see this happening, and big money players are involved now. So we'll have to see how this comes out in 2026, where we're going to, where like ByteDance is backing off. A lot of these companies are backing off, but you can still create a lot of this stuff through third parties or using workarounds, or
you can still jailbreak any AI. There's all these. I've never tried it, but apparently, like, there's all these there's different strategies for each LLM that you can jailbreak and get it to do anything you want. So if someone wants to do this, regardless of what measures they put in place, they can still do it.
Yeah, so this comes down to, what is the action going to be? Is it going to be a fee to the providers at this point, which would be the AI companies, or will it be the AI companies have to hand over their information to whoever and they come after us, like the cable industries? If you watch movies or whatever illegally, you'll get a cease and desist notice from your cable provider or internet provider or what have you, saying, hey, you did this thing. Are we going to see that kind of thing, saying, well, we're just going to go after the end users because they're doing this thing improperly, and start suing the crap out of them? And once we have 2 or 3 high profile, people will stop.
Yeah, I don't know. It's
the Wild West right now, and they'll have to put some rules in place to bring this under control, because whole industries are going to be affected. And people get mad. I know I've got attacked online for posting AI created images, specifically of pineapple pizza, but I don't really understand the issue, but that's a whole other discussion. But if you're copying someone's art, if you're copying this goes back to Google and all these AI companies serving up summaries of information that they scrape from other articles and no longer pointing back to those companies. So there's a lot of stuff going on in AI. Who owns the content? Who owns the copyright? Whether it's information, whether it's style, whether it's a medium, the copyright system has to change. And it has to change at a global level to some degree, but we're going to have to see what that means.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was a long-winded way. CDance 2.0 proves that the technology to replace traditional filmmaking is pretty much already here. Not quite, but there. But the brutal legal war over who gets to control it has just begun. If an AI can generate a perfect brand new blockbuster movie starring your favorite actor from the 90s, are you watching it, boycotting it? Let us know in the chat. Yeah. Share this instead. Go on this side. Wall Street just wiped billions off top cybersecurity stocks because Anthropic released an AI that hunts down code vulnerabilities. But before you declare the death of traditional antivirus, we need to talk at what this AI actually does and what it absolutely cannot do. Anthropic just launched a Claude Code Security, an LLM-powered tool that scans open source code for vulnerabilities before it ever goes live. This announcement triggered a panic sell-off among traditional cybersecurity giants like CrowdStrike, Zscaler, driven by fears that AI will eat their market share. What do you think about this, John?
I love this. I've always, me, since pretty much day one, I've always been a fan of Claude and everything that they do, and I feel like they've got the best overall product offerings. But this is cool. I don't know if we covered it or if we touched about it, but when there was an article that this is why it triggered it. It found it was doing a vulnerability search and in open source, and it found over 500 vulnerabilities that weren't previously identified from anywhere else, which was scary. So just to kind of let you guys know, Claude Code Security, it's kind of positioned as an AI-assisted application security capability, and it's embedded in Claude Code on the web, so not the desktop versions. But they released it as a limited research preview, and so it ingests a code base, it identifies likely vulnerabilities, and then it proposes targeted patches for human review, so a human in the loop. So nothing is auto-applied without approval. Obviously, you might be able to get around that, or in the future they won't have that. But what the system does is it emphasizes contextual reasoning over the whole code base. So it's not just pattern matching. It actually tries to understand component interactions and trace data flows, different things like that to catch vulnerabilities that rule-based scanners are going to miss. So you've got these business logic flaws, you've got broken access control, you've got all those things that it's missing. So I love this. I'm surprised it wasn't released earlier, because this just seems like it makes sense. It could have probably been released last year, but I'm excited for this. I'm excited to play with this. I'm excited to get it to do a pen test on my system, on my network. If it gets to that point, that's what I'm excited for. What do you think, Craig?
I'm excited for this because a lot of times I'm using Claude Code for my development in the back end. Tools like Lovable and whatnot use it, and now we'll be able to use their built-in security just to make sure before we publish an app, a website, whatnot, to make sure that the code is secure. And so I think this is a massive shift from reacting to cyber threats to the AI, fixing the code before it's released, saying, hey, we found these bugs, let's fix them before it's released. Meaning, it gets fixed before it gets out in the wild. So it'll be really interesting to see. And it's something we obviously need, as we have AI tools out there that are automatically doing pen testing and attacks and stuff. So if we can fix those errors before they go out, then we have AI working progressively and recursively for us to fix those errors at the same time as it's working against us from a hacker's point of view. So it steps up our game from a security point of view. I think of this update as city building inspector versus a police department. Claude Code security is the building inspector. It checks the blueprints, catches structural flaws before the concrete is even poured, while companies like CrowdStrike and Palo Alto are the police force patrolling the streets to top active crimes. Now, you can build a structurally perfect building, but you still need cops on the street. So they don't replace each other. But if we can reduce our reliance on companies like CrowdStrike, we last year we had one major blue screen of death, or the year before, as a result of security updates with them. If we can start taking these massive things that we're dependent on as a resource and lessen their impact on the internet, we'll all be better off. So, and the more secure we are, we're all better off. So this is available now for integration, so people should be using it. It's tied to Anthropic's enterprise and developer API usage tiers. So developers effectively get an automated senior level security peer review. So start using this, people, and make sure it's in all your vibe coding stuff, because the more security you have, the better. Let's face it. This is the one big thing weakness they say about using AI to code, is that security isn't usually very good. And
yeah,
go ahead.
And this just speaks to like the larger issue where people, like, especially with the stock markets crash, or some of the stocks crashing for some of these companies, are going down, not crashing, but losing market cap. But this goes back to it's the infrastructure that's going to be, that's the solid kind of investment going forward, for now at least. Because as these giants release these new features that pretty much negate some of these companies, those stocks are going to crash.
Yeah, of course. And if you want to talk about bug fixing, traditional static code analyzers are notoriously noisy, often generating thousands of false positives. And LLMs change this by understanding context, which drastically reduces alert fatigue for engineers, so they're not constantly looking at stuff that isn't a problem. The financial concept driving this is the cost of a defect. A bug caught in design phase costs roughly $100 to fix. That same bug caught in production can cost upwards of $10,000. So Claude Code is the pure cost-saving play for enterprise engineers, where it costs even less than $100. Financial analysts like Shrenik Kothari at Robert W. Baird are calling the narrative-led sell-off highlighting a classic Wall Street blind spot. It suits fundamentally confusing a developer tool with an enterprise extended detection response platform. So he's saying it's a knee-jerk reaction, so we'll have to see if it bounced back. What are your thoughts on this before we close it out, John?
No, I'm excited for this. I like this. I don't think it's a knee-jerk reaction. I think maybe he's invested in these stocks and he's trying to get it to go back up. I honestly think that this is the beginning of the end for some of these service offering companies, and they should start looking at even these startup AI companies that are like we're in the days where we're in the back in the Microsoft days where Microsoft was buying up or copying these small little solutions that are out there and integrating it into their OS, into their software. And this is where we're at right now with AI. Except we've got larger companies that are being affected as opposed to back then when it was smaller companies.
Yeah, just to be clear, Cloud Code security is blind once the software goes live. It has zero ability to stop an active network breach, detect a compromised employee password, or halt malware executing in runtime. So right now, it doesn't replace SIEM or SASE platforms, but this is definitely a shot off a bow, right? So yeah. Anthropic just built a world-class preventative security tool, but Wall Street fundamentally misunderstood the difference between fixing blueprints and stopping active intruders. But are we missing the start of an AI completely taking over the coding process, or is Wall Street, just overreacting to a new developer tool? Let us know what you think. Speaking of Anthropic.
Yeah. I'll try to leave my political views out of this one.
Yeah, I mean, you can say it, but it doesn't really matter because it's right. In the end, who has the right to do what is what matters, right? So let's get into it. Yeah. There's a viral blog post going around claiming the feud between Anthropic and the Pentagon is fake news. But the reality is this standoff is completely real and could rewrite the rules of modern warfare. If you think tech companies can dictate ethical bounds to U.S. military, the Department of Defense thinks they're about to prove you wrong. So the Pentagon threatens Anthropic over the rules and guardrails they're putting in place because, they want to use the AI wherever they want. And Anthropic is saying, no, you can't use this in weapons. You can't use it for certain things, for autonomous weapons or mass domestic surveillance specifically. What do you think about this, John?
Yeah, this is to me, in my opinion, this is the government trying to flex their muscle. I think Anthropic's in the right here, because here's the thing: Terminator. That's all I have to say, and Skynet, because that's where this could potentially be headed if the Pentagon is given unrestricted access to using AI. So at the heart of the conflict, just to kind of talk about it, is it's a contractual and ethical disagreement. And it's between Anthropic and the Pentagon. Okay. So Anthropic has built the Claude AI model with strong safety guardrails. Rightfully so, smart, and it restricts certain uses. So particularly domestic surveillance and fully autonomous lethal systems. Makes sense to me, right? Maybe not to everyone. So these safety limits, it reflects the company's philosophy, emphasizing ethical boundaries for AI deployment, trying to avoid Skynet. The Pentagon, however, insists that any AI tool it uses, especially within military and classified systems, must be available for all lawful purposes, which it interprets to include uses Anthropic wants to prohibit. and read between the lines, unlawful purposes, if we talk about NSA kind of stuff. So what Pete Hegseth is close to doing is designating Anthropic a supply chain risk, okay, which is a classification usually reserved for foreign adversaries, okay? So if imposed, the label would require all U.S. military contractors, Pentagon suppliers, anyone else linked to certify that they do not use Anthropic's AI tools. So that would effectively push the company out of defense supply ecosystems. So while the Pentagon contract at stake, it's valued at around $200 million, the implications themselves extend further beyond because Claude is widely used across U.S. industry and government. So I kind of threw in some of my opinion there. What are your thoughts on this, Craig?
I believe they're both right. So this is the problem, right? So when I say they're both right, okay, Pete Hegseth, who's the head of the department, you want to call it Department of War, you want to call it Department of Defense, not my issue. I'm a Canadian, I don't care. What he's saying is, okay, if you're telling us it's illegal to use this in certain ways, I need to make sure our department as a whole does not use it, because any number of these things could break the contract and have us in breach of contract, and you pulling the plug on this thing when it's a vital piece of our infrastructure and this and that. So either we need to come to an agreement, or you're telling me that the Department of Defense can't use it because the risk of it being used for surveillance or any sort of part to break this contract. So we need to figure that out. So I agree with Anthropic's moral stance to say you can't use it for these things. Great. And I agree with the Pentagon saying, well, if we can't use it for those things, we might have to declare it this way because we can't. We're so secretive. We don't tell each other department what we're using and what we're doing and how we're doing it. We may be breaking the rules. We may be doing things that you'll find out about that you'll be able to pull the plug on. In the end, I think what this does is they literally just save OpenAI.
I disagree with you there, Craig. I don't think it's a matter of security. I think it's a matter of Pete Hegseth wants something that he can use however he wants, whenever he wants it. That's all he cares about.
So you could say that, but that is an opinion. I sit back and say legally, I have, I don't know, let's just say 10,000 people under me doing all sorts of stuff related to surveillance and weapons and whatever, and they're using AI to do all sorts of things, and I'm not knowing what they're doing from day to day. And if Anthropic is saying, I can't do these specific things that previously to this point our department have been doing, I don't want to be in breach of contract. I don't want to be involved with this. I don't want to be turning lawsuits, and I don't want tools to be pulled out from under us that we're using day to day. So we either have to come to an agreement. So we either have to come to an agreement that this is not going to happen and we can use it the way we want, or this is what we might have to do. You can say it either way, but if this is how Anthropic is putting their contract from a legal point of view, I, as the other party, would have to say, well, if we can't come to an agreement, then we might say we can't use this product in our environment because we are at risk of breaking contract in any number of ways. And it's not fair for you. It's not fair for us to continue in that way. So I think it's, say what you want, but things are out in the open. We're going to be using it for this. We don't want you to be using it for this. So either we come to an agreement or we break the agreement.
Yeah, but I don't think you're reading this properly. And that's, again, so I don't think that they have the capability now that Anthropic's taking it away. I think they're trying to get the capability they're trying to add that capability is what they're trying to do. So I don't think they have the capability and Anthropic's taking it away.
So I think it's naive to think that all of the AIs are not being used in different forms to do surveillance at a minimum, never mind weapons. So whether that's metadata, whether that's this, whether that. So I think, mass domestic surveillance is happening.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. They're using it regardless of what Anthropic is saying.
Yes. So if that's the case, the only way we either agree that we can use it in this way or we agree we can't use it in this way. And somebody might be pulling their weight around negotiating contracts, whatever. But I think, to me, that's the only way to go. You either come to an agreement or you say, yeah, we got all this stuff going on. It's probably best that we don't. If this is your thing, because they're not going to come out and tell you they're doing the mass surveillance. They're not going to come out and tell you they've tried to integrate Anthropic into every AI weapon they've got going on, as well as OpenAI, as well as all these things to see what happens. They're going to say, oh, okay. So when I flip the script on this is saying Anthropic, as we've discussed before, has a better path to profitability. And I think as such, they can take the moral high ground much longer before any shareholders or whatever might come in and complain and try and bump them out of there. So they can, where I think OpenAI has been burning cash. We've been seeing nothing but how they're failing. Their Project Stargate's falling apart. Microsoft's pulling the plug. NVIDIA's not investing nearly as much in them. Everybody's kind of like, oh. This saying, okay, we just opened up a new AI contract with the Pentagon, and I'm sure OpenAI is not going to give it the same moral issues as Anthropic. And that's why I say I think they just saved OpenAI.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. I think all of them are like we got OpenAI, Google, and XAI. I think from what I hear, they've lifted their ordinary safeguards. So just Anthropic's kind of standing ground, which I like.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with companies being moral and standing their ground. We know somebody's going to jump in and take the contract and go. I'm
question for you though: should it not be Congress and not the Pentagon alone that should be setting the clear rules for military AI use?
Well, I mean, in the lack of direction, law, point, that kind of stuff, what do you do? I don't think they've come out and said you can't.
No, I know. Yeah, the absence of a formal regulatory framework is what's creating this room for these disputes to escalate unpredictably like this.
Well, I would have to. I'm going to put on my cold-hearted hat and say, if I was running the U.S. military, I'd be working with AI left and right. I'd be finding out what the limitations are, where we can use it. We know that the enemies are using it. We talked about the China's infrared AI maneuvers that automatically beat humans. They have to be able to fight it. They have to be able to defend. I, as a individual in Canada, don't want AI fighting wars. However, pragmatically, I think it's inevitable. And I think if you don't have AI in your weapons in the next 20 years, you're doomed to lose whatever the next war is. So I don't know what balance there is. I don't know what checks and balances there should be. People can call me crazy or a warmonger or whatever. But like in football, the best offense is a good defense.
Yeah.
Or the best defense is a good offense, depending on the way you want to say it. So I don't like it, but they have to have something, whether they want to develop their own stuff that should be private. Yeah. So, and every company in this area is going to stake their claim for doing different things. If it's not OpenAI, XAI's in there saying, hey, military, we'll do that, because Elon's all over the military contracts to do anything. So, it's going to be somebody. So I don't know if there really is a moral high ground overall. It's nice to see that a company has a moral high ground and they decided we're not going to be involved in this. Other people may, and we know that's where the world is going, but we are going to stand apart and do this other thing. If they continue and it works out for them, that's great, because I hope it does. But we'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really interested to see where this goes.
Yeah, me too.
And yeah, so if your business relies on DoD contracts, and Anthropic's API, you might need to start testing alternative tools like Gemini or OpenAI today to hedge your procurement risk, depending on what's going on with these lawsuits and what they're doing. The clash between Anthropic safety guardrails and Pentagon's demand for unrestricted AI use will define the military-industrial complex for the next decade. Should AI companies be allowed to tell the military how to use their tech, or should the Pentagon have total control? What are your thoughts? This goes back to the same thing. If you buy a PlayStation, do you own it or do they own it? Are you allowed to do what you want to, or someone else allowed to do what you want with it? Who owns it? And where morally do you draw the line? Would love to hear what your thoughts are, because I don't think this question is going to go anywhere, and I think there's going to be only more and more debates about it.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I just think they're using it, even if they haven't been able to unlock, put this in my weapon and shoot people. They're using it for other things where they shouldn't be.
Yeah.
All right. I want to do blue energy, I think.
Sure.
That's the next on the list here.
I think we only have time for one more.
Oh, we only have time for one more?
Maybe two. No, we can do it. Whatever one. Yeah, pick whatever one you want.
Oh, we got the...
We might have time for two if we go through this one quicker.
Okay.
Let's do a shorter sign off.
No, that's something completely different. Nope. We've spent decades looking up at the sun and wind for clean power, but the next major energy revolution is happening right where the river meets the sea. A massive breakthrough in blue energy just cracked the code on harvesting electricity from salt water, and it could completely rewrite the global grid. Researchers have developed a new nanofluid membrane that generates electricity simply by letting fresh water and salt water mix. By using lipid-coated nanopores to lubricate ion flow, they've solved the massive efficiency bottlenecks that previously held osmotic power back. What do you think about this, John?
I love this. So, like we've talked about blue hydrogen in the past, right? This is blue energy. So, blue energy, it's also known as osmotic, or it's salinity gradient power. It's a renewable energy source, and it's created by exploiting the chemical potential between salt water and fresh water. So when fresh water and seawater are separated by a membrane, these ions naturally migrate from one side to the other. So that generates an electrical current that can be harvested. So people around the world. This process happens continuously and represents an enormous untapped energy source. So theoretically, it's capable of providing substantial baseline electricity independent of weather conditions. But traditional blue energy membranes, they typically face a trade-off between ion speed and selectivity. So materials that let ions move quickly will often allow both positive and negative ions to pass without distinction, and that reduces the electrical potential generated. Conversely, the high selective membranes slow the ion flow so much that the output power is tiny. So practical deployment is also hindered by mechanical stress, flow conditions, membrane fouling, and resistance, and the difficulties of scaling up from lab to field application. So enter the EPFL team's innovation, which lies in coating nanopores with lipid bilayers, which is the same structural motif found in biological cell membranes. So these lipid layers, they naturally attract and hold a thin film of water around the pores' interior surfaces, which creates a hydration lubrication effect that dramatically lowers friction for passing ions. So by reducing this friction, selected ions can flow more freely through the pores. So this approach, it simultaneously enhances ion transport rate and selectivity strength, which is overcoming the big trade-offs. So just to kind of, well, how much did it generate? So in their experiments with devices with thousands of these lipid-coated pores, they were arranged on a silicon nitride membrane, and the system achieved a power density of about 15 watts per square meter, which is about 2 to 3 times higher than the state-of-the-art polymer membranes that are currently out there. And then they ran some computer simulations, and they just there's a lot of potential here. What do you think? Is this the electrical or solution that we're looking for, or power solution that we're looking for, Craig? Or what are your thoughts?
Well, we're getting there. I mean, this effectively turns every river mouth, wastewater facility, and desalination plant on Earth into a potential 24/7 clean power generator. It entirely unaffected by weather or time of day. The problem is it doesn't produce enough power, but the power density now reaching levels of profitability. So where before it wasn't really profitable to do it this way, now it is. Because Norway's Statkraft built the world's first prototype of the osmotic power plant back in 2009. They abandoned it in 2013 because traditional polymer membranes couldn't produce enough wattage to be profitable. This new 15 watt per meter squared metric finally crosses that profitability threshold. So it looks like we're going to start seeing more adoption and wide-scale deployment of this, and we're going to have to wait and see what that means, the longevity of these things. Do they degrade over time? Can they be sustained? So I guess we're going to have to wait.
Yeah, like there are some power plants out there in Japan and Denmark, but these if this goes through, this will drastically increase their power output, and make it maybe more viable. Or maybe this is for smaller scale. Maybe this is in third world countries. Who knows what this could be used for? But I like this. I like that there's a bunch of different research happening on a bunch of different renewable energy sources other than solar and wind.
Yeah, and it's great to see more research happening and us being able to pull more out of the technology. And although there's some, like you said, a couple of people using this technology now, they're not using this upgraded technology. And it's just not profitable. They're using it as an experiment, and being able to use this new version with the lipids really will take it to the next level and now make it profitable. That's why I see we're going to see them all over the place now that they're profitable. People will experiment more and more.
Yeah.
Blue energy just leaped from a lab bench novelty to a high efficient, legitimate contender for global baseload power. So are we looking at the ultimate replacement for fossil fuels? Probably not, or is the maintenance of these nano membranes going to be a multi-billion-dollar nightmare? Let us know what you think, and we'd love to hear if you think blue energy is the future. Sure. Okay, you want to do this one, right?
Oh no, I didn't care.
Well, that's the only one left. Otherwise, other than the nano one, right?
No, there's the finger one too, but that's okay.
Oh yeah, the finger one.
Yeah. I don't
2D40. Let's do the 2D40 finger one. I just don't have it. We're doing this one because I don't have it in my.
Okay, that's fine.
This is the fluid logic circuits, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pneumatic actuation.
Absolutely. Okay. Yeah. Okay. We spent decades shrinking silicon chips to power our screens, but an engineer just built a fully functional matrix display using nothing but air, vacuum tubes, and silicone. This breakthrough in fluid logic proves you don't need a single drop of electricity to compute, and it's paving the way for a massive leap in indestructible soft robotics. Engineers are creating pneumatic displays and control systems relying entirely on microfluid logic gates and DIY vacuum transistors. By routing air pressure through layered silicon channels, these systems calculate and physically actuate pixels without any electronic components in the matrix. What's going on here, John?
This is, I think this is pretty cool. So there's this YouTuber and maker. His nickname's Soyboy Soft, I think. So he built a small soft display that's made out of silicon and air pressure instead of electronics. So each pixel, it's basically a little silicon membrane over a tiny cell that moves inward when air is sucked out, creating a bump or depression that can spell out text or simple images. So the system is powered by vacuum pumps and valves rather than electricity and LEDs. It's actually pretty cool to watch. I don't know if you watch the video, but so it's cool because instead of relying on actual electrical pixels like LCDs and OLEDs, the system's using pneumatic actuation to move the silicon membrane. So when a vacuum line removes the air breath, the membrane, it pulls the membrane into depression, which creates a visible change. When the vacuum is released, the membrane releases and springs back flat. So effectively creating an off state. So I like, although the project is functional, the charm comes like if you actually watch the video, it's kind of an ASMR sensory kind of video because you've got these sounds and sensory experience of watching it. So if you guys get a chance, go watch the video. But you've got the combination of hissing air, clicking valves, and membrane motion. It produces this satisfying audio effect. So not only is it cool technology that's kind of using basic technology to create something cool, there's also this sensory effect to it. There we go. Yeah. What do you think about this, Craig?
Sorry, we're playing the video. We're just not playing the audio.
There's no sound, that's why.
Yeah, that's just because it's better not to, because we'll get probably copyright struck for something. Yeah. This lays the groundwork for indestructible soft touch wearables, tactile interfaces that can operate safely in extreme environments where traditional electronics would instantly short circuit. I like to think of this like an update to us, like a city's plumbing system masquerading as a computer processor. Instead of electric switches flipping on and off to light up a bulb, imagine a microscopic network of pipes where a drop in air pressure physically sucks a tiny silicon bulb inward to create a pixel. If you open a valve on both the row and the column pipe simultaneously, bam, the intersection gets sucked in, acting exactly like a microscopic and in your smartphone.
Yeah.
So I think this is really cool. I don't think we'll have to see like what this actually, what kind of cool, really cool things people will develop with. We saw the LED displays that it can do, but that's just the beginning, right?
Yeah. Yeah. This is cool. I'm excited to see where the next steps goes with this and what other people do with this. This is really cool.
Yeah, let me just see if I can jump to a spot where you can see it displaying anything.
There we go. That's it working in real life.
Yeah. So the fluid logic was heavily researched by the military and aerospace industries in the 1960s because the mechanical air logic gates are entirely immune to electromagnetic pulses and extreme radiation. So this will be interesting to see if what this makes their way to and what new interactive type devices we can use with this technology. I'm really interested to see whether soft robotics and microfluids prove that logic is a universal language, turning simple silicon and air into tactile display of the future. Would you trust a wearable health monitor run entirely by microscopic air tubes instead of a battery and a microchip? Let us know in the chat.
Quick update. Breaking news.
Yeah.
The U.S. military has signed an agreement with Grok XAI after Anthropic.
Well, it was my second choice. OpenAI would be in there, but Elon's
Elon's
known
got his
for
fingers in there. Yeah.
he's known for being able to pull those contracts, and there you go.
Yeah, I don't know if you can cut that into the end, but yeah, that just came out this morning, so I missed it.
No worries. I'll see if I can cut that in when we're talking about it. So what do you got going on, John?
Yeah, helping companies with non-dilutive funding, attending some events. I know we've got startup drinks this month, whatever month this comes out. So, and some Flowgrammer events. How about you, Craig? What do you have going on?
Well, we usually do startup investor drinks on the third Thursday of every month here in Toronto. We had over 50 people out last time with 14 plus investors. So we have the best investor to founder ratio anywhere. Where you really every third person you talk to, every 2.8 person you talk to or something is an investor. So there's no reason not to make those relationships and start connecting with people. So check all of that out over at startupdrinksto.com or at torontostarts.com, where you can find everything about our workshops and our other things that are going on related to startups. And over at flowgrammer.ca, we do AI and business automation. If you're trying to take your business to the next level, don't know where to start, book a call over at flowgrammer.ca. We also do run a community of builders where we do live builds online, and we run Flowgrammer Cafe, among other things. The next one is March 6th, but it's usually the first Friday of every month. And where we open it up, it's 9 to 4:30. It's drop in, bring your headphones, bring your laptop, bring your charger, get work done. No presentations, no this. We have some people who really know what they're talking about around working with us. So if you get stuck on something or want to know about tools or whatnot, the conversation is great. So check all of that out. And if people want non-dilutive funding, John, where do they go?
Yeah, come find me on LinkedIn. There's a link. You can book some time with me or send me a message or connect with me. Connect with me and send me a message first instead of just booking some time. That's what I recommend. But if you need help with anything else related to your business as a startup, what do they have to do, Craig?
Just head over to torontostarts.com for everything else. You can find links to everything we do there and follow up. Would love if you want to chat, there's links for you to book a call with me there. Otherwise, hang out, check out our events, come down and say hi to John and I. We're both usually at our events, and we'd love to say hi to you. And thanks everyone for listening and watching.
Thanks, everyone.